Test. Test. Hello. Tap it again. It's working. Oh, okay, we just didn't have it pushed up hard enough. Okay. Yeah, go ahead. Okay. Hello.
Worth it. Remember when I had breakfast an hour ago? Yeah. But I think Dante's going to be here today. Those things are cool. I like those things. You don't. You want to color one or do you want to use your book? It's you.
Everything in the job. Yes, this week. Can you come here? Okay. Maybe look at Sally, how rich she is. California. We're starting a trend. I think to ring a chime. Are you doing more up? Getting it ready? I need it in the, yeah. Yeah, I'm going to do that right now. Okay. Diane, you ready? You ready? If you would stand as you are willing and able to sing our spirit music, it's number 168. You guys, you guys will see all right, you can sway like take
Good morning. Today's opening words come from the book Sonata for Voice and Silence by Mark Bellatini. De colores. All the colors make a world, O truth. You are none of them, and yet all of them. All of them hand the color of wheat joined to hand the color of cream tea. all of them, eyes dark as maple bark and light as glacier ice, all of them. Torsos, cinnamon and caramel and cocoa, foreheads reflecting the blue of the noon sky or rust of the sunset, all of them. The chartreuse of leaves drooping off winter rhododendrons in the sun, the restrained gray of stone, and cola. Black raw iron railings on porches. Every shade you make a world. Mahogany arms and shoulders of rain, evenings, ills and dawns. All the hues of rage or despair. All the colors shimmering in all the silence. They are you, oh, they are you. Far than these flimsy and tissue-thin words. Welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Church of Farmington. My name is Beverly Church, and I am a member of the vocal ensemble here. We are a small but enthusiastic group of singers, and we are always looking for new singers. So if you like to sing, and that is the only requirement, that you like to sing, please see me or our music director, Anna Munch, after the service. I'd like to extend a special welcome to any visitors today. Please join us for coffee, bagel, conversation after the service downstairs. A member of the committee will be at the visitors table if you have any questions. At this time, I'd like to invite any first-time visitors to stand and let us know where you're from and how you heard about us. We'd like to meet you.
My name is Reagan Patrick. She's been here, I don't know.
Great. Great. Welcome. Great. Welcome.
I'm Ashley. I'm from Plymouth. I've gone to the congregation in Ann Arbor a couple of times. And I just realized that this is actually closer.
Great. Thank you. We're so glad you all joined us this morning. During the service, we have supervised nursery, toddlers, and religious education classes, children and youth. Please do if you need to leave the service for any reason, there are two other locations in the this is broadcast. An usher can direct you. And let's remember that we're a welcoming congregation. We welcome all humans, regardless of race, sexual orientation, belief system, and age. Even the small children that are fit and make noises. These little humans are our future, and we welcome while they're in the meeting house. I have one announcement for today. There is a new pledge. The meeting will end at 12:30. So if you have the margin level at the end of the hall, about upcoming events, please take a moment to silence your phone. Our units for the chalice. It's number 525. The back the and dark strand with beyond joy entwined, shake, transform.
Yeah, the choir with me. This is good. We'll be the love that green sure as spring, that deepens in summer to fall autumn brings, resting still in winter to spiral again. Together, my friends, we'll weave on, we'll weave on. A love that heals, friend, that bends, friend, that rising and turning, that yields, friend, like the mountain. Their roots are connected down under the ground and weaving together and supporting them. And even when we're not looking at the garden and taking care of it, things are happening in the little teeny microbes of the can't get in church? No, they can't. And the Lily Grounds Committee is glad to know that. So, oh yeah, there's a plant, kind of. Sometimes is a light in your house that you don't see all the time, and sometimes they come in and they visit you in the winter.
Something alive in your house except bugs and ants, and also that's it. Spiders.
And sometimes spiders, right? So I'm going to tell you how the spider, this is a big leap, how the spider makes all kinds of wonderful connections and actually does some nice things for people. Can anybody think of what a spider might do that's nice for people?
Bugs.
Hello, that is the right answer. And because of that, we'll continue with the story. That is very nice that the spider does. Right, and you don't kill them, right? Because they're doing a good job. Who is Reverend Leonetta? Now that's the question. I'm so excited. I'm Reverend Leonetta. Isn't that neat? So this is what happens. During the whole month of February, Dante, that's very cool. Let me finish what I'm going to say, and then you can tell Kim about the rest. So what's going to happen is you're going to think of things that are very nice that you could do for other people. And everybody out there, they're going to think of things that they could do for each other and for you. And so I'm going to have a special box downstairs that has some ideas to get you started. Sometimes the smallest little nice thing you could do for somebody is listen. Sometimes the nicest good thing you can do for somebody is, like for Lane, you could say, Lane, I'm so glad you're here today. It's so nice to see you. And you could say, Max, we're so glad you're here, and it's nice to see you. And we could say, Dante, thank you for coming today and brushing your teeth to come to church. And what could we say? We could say, thank you for bringing your dragon. Actually, it's a dinosaur. And what do you have, Dexter? So we could just say one nice thing to people today, right, Elliot? And we could give them a sticker. And so I'm going to have stickers downstairs. Thank you for coming today. I'm going to have stickers downstairs. But when you give somebody a sticker, so like when I give a Kim a sticker, I'm going to say, oh, Kim, thanks for getting the memo and wearing gray today. Because she and I wore gray today. And then we could say, you can do other join me in the words for offering that are listed in the order of service? We give generously to support this church where love and justice and equality inspire our acts of service and compassion. We dedicate these gifts to all that we stand for within the Unitarian Universalist tradition. And now if you would turn back to page 6 where the Song of Community is. So we're not going to make any assumptions about people's ages or abilities or energy level, but we are going to give you an optional invitation. So you had a free pass during that first verse because it was the first time you sang it. But now, when you see the words bend, some of you that have Fitbits on or are thinking how many steps and movements you're taking might want to bend. And then at turn, you might want to turn. And you might be sitting too close, so you might have to get out into the aisles. So there may be some elders that want to move, and there may be some youngers that did something last night on Saturday night and they need to rest. Do whatever you need to do, but please join voices to sing verse number 2, Stand as You Are Willing and Able, on page 6. Some of you have had quite a week this week with some challenges of doctor appointments or caring for others or reaching out and doing what you can do to keep your life stable, and some of you have even experienced some joys. If you have a joy or a sorrow or concern, if you would like to voice it, come up and please introduce yourself by first name and share your joy or concern, and we can light a candle.
Today, we all voted to call Reverend Leonetta as our settlement. So I'm excited and looking forward to a long future with us. And we also voted to adopt a shorter mission statement, which is now on the cover of your order of service, right under the title, right under Reverend Leonetta's name. Seek answers everywhere, include everyone, live with compassion. So I challenge you all to commit that to memory.
Good morning, folks. My name's Alec. Some of you might recognize me. I grew up in this church. I've been gone for quite a few years, probably first time in 4 or 5 years. Ramsey Smith, Dana Ramsey's son, for what it's worth. So yeah, my joy is that I'm back here for the first time in a while and happy to be in a place that meant a lot to me growing up.
Great. Welcome back. Yeah. Nice to see you. We probably don't recognize you with your beard. This will make it easier. You can just get it. Hi, Reagan.
Hi, my name's Reagan again, and I actually have a sorrow. I ended up moving in with Hillary this week because my long-term boyfriend and I broke up, and so I'm actually in a really rough spot right now. And Hillary, and then I guess the joy too is I called Hillary up and I said, I don't have any money, but I need somewhere to stay. And she said to me, oh, honey, I don't care about the money. Just get your butt over here. I'm worried about you. So I'm very, as much as I'm in sorrow right now, I'm very thankful to Hillary. So a little bit of both.
Yeah. Thank you. That's nice. You can just wait one and stick it in the sand. So I guess I should voice this at this time. Thank you very much for your generosity of votes and your vote of confidence that you expressed last week. It was a healthy vote, so there were 2 that voted against and 1 was an abstention, which is terrific because in a Unitarian Universalist congregation, that's great statistics. And also, it'll push me to keep me on my toes. And it was a total confidential vote, so I'm just trying to please all of you and also do the work that we can do here together. So I am answering the call with a yes, and we will be celebrating that. Thank you. Thanks. And mark your calendars for April 9th. Sometime during that day, we are going to be having an installation service that's really nice, and we end up with special tea and crumpets and things to celebrate. We do have one other concern that immediately turned into a joy because of the generosity of one of the members. Brett, our friend who has sung in the choir, and I always forget his last name. It's like Havlick. Hedrick, yes, Hedrick. Brett Hedrick. He is coming at home from a lot of surgeries, and his caregiver has now gone into the hospital. He has a little bitty service dog, and he's getting that service dog out most of the time to take care of the dog's needs. But it would be wonderful if we could get a couple people that live near the Westland area that might be able to stop by once a day, if we could get a few people in rotation or even a couple, to let the dog out and maybe give him a little run. And so I emphasize it's a little dog, and we thank you to Richard Kent. As soon as I called Richard, not knowing the West Side that well, I just thought, oh, Richard must live down there. And wherever Richard lived, he got in his car and he took the dog out, and he will do that today. So if you're able to do that, please contact me after just so I can let Brett know. And this candle is for all the joys and concerns that did not get expressed here at this time, but do get expressed during our private conversations with one another during coffee hour and during the week, or maybe need to remain private until we are ready to verbalize them. So be it. I would like to invite you into a short time of meditation and quiet reflection, possibly prayer. Come, my life, a life that devotes itself to love. Come into life. Come into my life that coaxes and ungums the works. Get me to waltzing on the hot coals of my amazement. Our lives woven together become a strengthened fabric for others to see, to rest upon, to be reassured by. As we come into each other's lives, weaving our stories and our strengths and our weaknesses and our desires and our virtues and our values. We are a congregation. Each of us is a thread in that congregation. In our silence, may we reflect on the strength that we have, where we gather it from, and how it continues to buoy us up in our silence together. isn't this just how life is? Get nice and comfortable, and you've been sitting and you heard a nice little meditation and some music, and you're just all cozy. Somebody asked you to stand up again, and that's what I'm inviting you to do, to sing the third verse of our hymn. I'm not sure for what occasion it would be appropriate to give this book other than to say maybe for any occasion. This is the Book of Virtues by William J. Bennett. And in this book are readings such as the Gettysburg Address, some of the Aesop's fables, things from Plato and Socrates, and then wonderful poems from Edgar Guest, and I would say some of the classics. They're all together in one. So I will first read, I'm going to have, I think we'll see 2 or 3 readings. This oath was taken by young men of ancient Athens when they reached the age of 17. We will never disgrace on this our city by an act of dishonesty or cowardice. We will fight for the ideals and sacred things of the city, both alone and with many. We will revere and obey the city's laws and will do our best to incite a little reverence and respect in those above us who are prone to annul them or set them at naught. I should have read that one a little slower. We will strive increasingly to quicken the public sense of civic duty. Thus, in all these ways, we will transmit this city not only not less, but greater and more beautiful than it was transmitted to us. And this, many years later, the American's Creed by William Tyler Page. I believe in the United States of America, a government of the people, by the people, for the people, whose powers are derived from the consent of the government governed, a democracy in a small r republic, a sovereign nation of many sovereign states, a perfect union, one and inseparable, established upon those principles of freedom, equality, justice, and humanity for which American patriots sacrifice their lives and fortunes. I therefore believe it is my duty to my country to love it, to support its Constitution, to obey its laws, to respect the flag, and to defend it against all enemies. So that is the patriotic part. This is the entertainment part. Oscar Wilde wrote many stories. This is only the beginning of the one called The Selfish Giant. Stay alert, please. Every afternoon, as they were coming from school, the children used to go and play in the giant's garden. It was a lovely garden with soft green grass. Here and there over the grass stood beautiful flowers like stars, and there were 12 peach trees that in the springtime broke into a delicate blossom of pink and pearl, and in the autumn bore rich fruit. The birds sat on the trees and sang so sweet that the children used to stop their games in order to listen to them. "How happy we are here," they cried to each other. One day they came back. He had been to visit a friend, says the Cornish ogre could be in any place in the world away, and had stayed with him for 7 years. After the 7 years were over, he had said that he had all that he had to say, for his conversation was limited, and he determined to return to his own castle. When he arrived, he saw the children playing in their garden. "What are you doing here?" he cried in a very gruff voice, and the children all ran away. "My own garden is my own garden," said the giant. "Anyone can understand that, and I will allow nobody to play but myself." And put up a notice board. "Trespassers will be prosecuted." William Tell. Last story before this sermon. This was retold by James Baldwin. The people of Switzerland were not always free and happy as they are today. Many years ago, a proud tyrant whose name was Gessler ruled over them and made their lot a bitter one indeed. One day, this tyrant set a tall pole in the middle of the public square and put his own cap on top of it. Then he gave orders that every man who came into town should bow down before it. But one man, William Tell, would not do this. He stood up straight, folded his arms, laughed at the swinging hat. He would not bow down to Gessler himself. When Gessler heard of this, he was very angry. He was afraid that the other men would also disobey, and that soon the whole country would rebel against him. So he made up his mind to punish the bold man. William Tell's home was out in the mountains, and he was a famous hunter. No one in this land could shoot with a bow and arrow so well, and Gessler knew this. So he thought of a cruel plan to make the hunter's own skill bring him to grief. He ordered that Tell's little boy would be made to stand in the public square with an apple on his head, and then he would bade Tell to shoot the apple off the top of his son's head with one of the arrows. Tell begged the tyrant not to have him make this test of his skill. What if the boy should move? What if the bowman's hand should tremble? What if the arrow should not carry true? "Will you make me kill my boy?" he said. "Say no more," said Gessler. "You must hit the apple with one arrow off your son's head. If you fail, my soldiers shall kill the boy before your eyes." Then, without another word, Tell fitted the arrow to his bow, took aim, and let it fly. The boy stood firm and still. He was not afraid, for he had all the faith in his father's skill. The arrow whistled through the air. It struck the apple fairly in the center and carried it away. The people who saw it shouted with joy. Now, the next part is kind of threatening, and I don't mean it in any analogous way. All the rest of it was an analogy. As Tell was running away from the place, an arrow which was hidden in his coat dropped to the ground. "Fellows," said Gessler, "what mean you with the second arrow?" "Tyrant," he said, "this arrow was for your heart if I hurt my child." And there is an old story that not long after this, Tell did shoot the tyrant with one of his arrows, and thus he set the country free. That one, just let that go. But I didn't want you to, somebody that knew the William Tell story, call me on not completing it correctly. Many of us in this gathering have had the auspicious, that giving or being of a sign of a future success, responsibility of helping to raise children or to teach children. Days such as today bring up this particular challenge. Oh, I ever loved to be a Buddhist monk and know that none of you had fancy screens to keep you delighted with agitations during the week. But this is not so with all of you. being informed and full of knowledge and fears and uncertainties. But here we gather. We gather the values, the perspective that we have used and methods, and we take matter and we use our rational facts and our rational approaches to respond to subject matter. We pride ourselves in practicing a liberal faith. All of us would fall on different points of the spectrum, flowing from conservative to liberal foundational philosophy. These descriptions, I think, are important enough to add some distinction to their meaning. Rather than allowing these words, like conservative, to be usurped by a far liberal left or far radical right group. Some of the core descriptions of being a conservative or liberal relate to how compassionate a person may be to those in need. However, being a conservative doesn't mean that you're not compassionate, or being a liberal doesn't mean that you're not responsible. Today, I'd like to focus a little bit on the values and the perspective of a positive foundation of being a conservative. As liberals do not have that corner on the market of exhibiting compassion. Being a conservative does not only mean that you pull yourself up by the bootstraps as the only explanation given to those in need. There's a balance between exceptions and responsibilities, rights and compassion, and all of those are needed to be woven together for a healthy society. Let us start by looking first at the nature of what a conservative stands for. What is conservatism? The term refers to something outside itself. Larry Arnn, president of Hillsdale College, has stated, "We cannot conserve the present or the future, and the past being full of contradictions. We cannot conserve it entire. In the past, one finds heroes and villains, justice and injustice, freedom and slavery. Things in the past are like things in the present. They must be judged and critiqued. Conservative people know this if they have any sense." So, what then makes them conservative? It is the additional knowledge that things that have had a good reputation for a long time are more trustworthy than things that haven't been tried out. This is especially true of original things. The very term principle refers to something that comes first. To change the principle of a thing is to change it into something else. Without principle, the thing is lost. If American conservatism means anything, then it means the things that founded at the beginning of America, when it became a nation, are things that we relate back to. The classics teach us that forming political bonds is natural to people, even written in our nature, stemming from a divine gift that they have from speech and reason. This means the Declaration of Independence, where the final causes of our nation are stated in the Constitution of the United States, where the government is established, are original things. So these documents were written by people who were friends and who understood the documents to pursue the same ends. Taken together, they are the longest surviving things of their kind. And under their domain, our country spread across the continent and became the strongest nation on earth, the bastion of freedom. These documents do not appeal to all conservatives, but Larry argues that they should both for their age and worthiness. Well, maybe that's where we start. The strongest nation on earth. It kind of rattles people to think that we may not be the strongest nation on earth any longer. If any conservative politician who is representing and protecting the people of the United States is worth their salt, they will refer back to these documents and know that they must be conserved, upheld, and interpreted for all. But that's where the twist comes. Interpreted by whom and to what means. We are living in a daily questionable misuse of the descriptions in these documents. Many of you have been marching, writing letters, calling, organizing, taking actions to make sure the best way of being a conservative or a liberal is being followed in sometimes our liberal way. Our president has shut down some agencies and been very busy in the last couple of weeks that seem unnecessary to him. Environmental websites, Planned Parenthood, and support for veteran websites have all been shut down. Maybe it's just temporary. Maybe there's a reformation going on. Most recently, the gates of airports into our country have been temporarily shut down, and luckily the ACLU was on top of that and has changed things. But the airports will be busy today. I can look up on my phone, and you can too, if you want to drive out to Detroit Metro Airport this afternoon and join yet another march. You will find others there waiting for you. At first, it seemed like they were only removing websites. But what of the services behind the website? Yes, we all want more efficient and effective laws that are made now chiefly by regulatory agencies that combine in themselves all three powers of government, working together. We all want to be guaranteed that the people entering our country are not terrorists who are coming here to harm anyone. And we want to make sure that the people in our large sister city of Chicago are safe also. If being a conservative means an ignoring of the process and the executive of laws of our country, we are in far more trouble than being called cruel or lacking compassion. So how do we press that the elected branch of governments without making each person, school, club, individual's family life the subject of so many rules that it's so complicated that we can't figure out how to relate to each other and how to be a civil society? When these rules are not enforced because they're so complicated, we start looking over our shoulders carefully of not knowing if we are law-abiding citizens. Being law-abiding makes sense as a public goal, but choosing to be compliant seems to have replaced being law-abiding. Not for everyone, but think about it for ourselves. That's why I keep having you stand up. It's purposeful for this service. We're going to keep standing up. And we're going to keep singing, and we're going to keep singing for each other and to each other until our strength multiplies and our courage doesn't waver. Aaron provides the difference. Laws the founders held must be simple, few, and constant. Then we may all know what they are, live under them, and help to enforce them. This makes us equal, ruler and ruled. It means that we do not quail before the forces of the law because we are the forces of the law. Compliance, by contrast, means adapting constantly to changing and complex instructions from central authorities, and it means employment of specialists to interpret the regulations and make sure others conform. Thank goodness that we have groups like that, but that's who we end up relying on. In addition to this, whose population, and not only in the inner city, live in long-term dependence on the government, which isn't what we want. It means that the government is separate from the people, and it means that the government grows. Madison wrote, "The first nation to adopt purely representative forms is ours. This means that all sovereignty or authority to rule is located in the governed, in the people. But at the same time, people do not have offices as government. For instance, in the Athenian and America's pure simple republicanism, as Madison called it, makes possible the separation of both between the governed and the government. So the long and the short of it is that we are not ruled by a king, and we bow down to a hat that is put in the middle of the public square. We have lived, many of us, through long histories. As I look out, I'm glad to see such a range in ages from middle schoolers all the way up to later retirees. Each of you understands what is going on at a different level. Some of you have lived through this before, and so you know that we will live through this again. And you know that being compliant will not be the answer. You are citizens, and you have the right to be heard. So yes, I think I can mention this name. When Trump wrote on January 16th that the United States of America is a land of laws and American values value the rule of the law above, why then has the Congress allowed the president and the executive branch to take over with near dictatorial power? What is needed in Washington is a president who will rein in the executive branch and work with the Congress to make sure the legislative branch does its job. We as Unitarian Universalists are expected to use our reason as our guide to our actions. We also want to apply compassion as citizens to those in need as we create places of refuge. As citizens, we have the right to determine who else will become citizens. No king, a president, who with the executive branch takes an oath of working together to change things. So the convoluted launches continue. We continue to gather on Sunday looking for hope and looking for strength and not looking for more fear. So we do not have fear because when a need is expressed, whether it is walking a dog or finding a place to rest your head as you are in a transitional place in your life, you know that it can be answered in this community and so many other communities like this. You know, those of you that marched, whether it was to Detroit or in Lansing or Washington, D.C., that you found other Unitarian Universalists people fighting for rights that have been fought for so long, and we are not going backwards. We are the stewards of those rights. We continue to take responsibility and teach that responsibilities must be fulfilled for rights to be granted. This is something that I'm challenged by because I have children in my life that I want to share my abundance with, and I don't want to make them get off their cell phones and actually carry their dishes to the sink, because that would just be so exhausting. But I have them do that because that's part of the responsibility. Part of the responsibility for you coming here is to be as involved as you possibly can. You're strengthening your families, and you're strengthening this congregation, and you're strengthening your part of society. Taking for granted fundamental rights is not going to work any longer. We see faces. We see images when we sing the song of community. We see people that need us. There's a complicated balance going on out there. You don't need to be compliant, but sometimes you need to rest. You need to also stand up and march and write letters and keep the phone lines moving. Every day, something happens. We gave the power over to the media, and now we wonder why every day keeps us on high speed, because something will happen that will either make you afraid, make you want to eat more sugar and drink more cat coffee loaded drinks with whipped cream on top, or make you want to turn on your computer and do what you know that your parents and grandparents would have done: stood up for the values they know and hold true. May we continue the conversations, because that's what starts. Never make an assumption that everybody is in complete agreement with you. There are many paths in the right direction. But choose the one that makes rational sense for you and the values of this United States. We are conservatives. We are liberals. We use compassion. We blend our resources. We make sure that they're well managed. And for those of us that need maybe an extra heart or an extra hug or a little extra compassion so that they can muster up their energy to continue, please be the one that is open to give of the extra resources that you have of energy, compassion, hopeful stories, because I am looking out at a room full of fighters, and you will fight for each other in what you believe in. So be it. And guess what you get to do now? The fourth and final verse.
There's 5 verses. Do you want us to do?
No, we'll just sing one. What hope looks like on a Sunday morning. I am so fortunate to be able to look out at all of your faces, because I see things, expressions, energy. I don't read auras. I just mean the pulse of your energy. And that is hopeful to me. The other piece that I thought that was very hopeful this morning, and some of you have a longer drive than others, there actually was a little teeny hole in the sky that turned blue for about 4 minutes. It wasn't yellow, but I hear it will be tomorrow. So we aren't going to sing that song ever, I hope. But your work is the sun. You carry the light. One word from you can change things in a grocery store, in a drugstore, in a doctor's office. One word from you can show that you carry the compassion that we speak of here on Sundays. So be it.
Yep.
Bye.